This is how I made $434 day trading NASDAQ on Friday, February 27th. I'm recording this trade recap on Sunday, a couple days later after the trade. Friday, I had a bunch of work items going on, so couldn't really get around to recording this video the day of the trade. But anyway, so we can see, let me get to our 10 o'clock candle. Coming into the day, this is where we're at on the indexes. We have yesterday, or not yesterday, but Thursday. When I say yesterday, I mean Thursday or Wednesday, actually. Wednesday, this was Thursday, this is Wednesday, or Tuesday PM session going into Wednesday. We came up, made an SMT. NQ took out this daily level here. ES did not. And then off this SMT, we're seeing retrace to the downside. So then after this retrace to the downside, which we got coming into market open, things could have gone one or two ways coming into market open. We could have either retraced up a little bit and then dumped lower to take out these draws on liquidity on ES, preferably because it's the leading SMT to go short. Or I'll drop down here to the hourly and show you what I liked even more and what made me have a long bias coming into the day was due to the fact that we made such a large move down during London session. So I thought a retrace before we were going to go down and take out these short side levels was more likely coming into, based on what these hourly candles look like on both indexes. So I was favoring longs on a retracement play, but after I looked a little more, I saw that NQ here has almost equal highs by one tick. So almost equal highs here, right, underneath this big gap. So I really liked these draws on liquidity for NQ. If we could come up and take out these highs and keep pushing, we could ultimately ended up deep pushing into this gap here, which I really like to see. And also, with how drastic of a move here, this ended up looking like a high resistance low on the 15-minute. I'll show you what I mean here. So this is our 945 candle. This is our 945 candle. Yeah, you can see how deep we pushed during London session and relatively how, I don't want to say far, but a little bit away these lows are, especially after this opening push. We didn't end up taking those out. Paired with the fact that we broke 15-minute structure to the upside on the 15-minute on NQ, but we did not on ES, right? So we also had to keep that daily SMT in mind that that favored ES short, but intraday PA NQ breaking 15-minute structure to the upside with these equal highs. I really liked how this looked. But the reason that I did not end up taking full size on this trade was, like I said, we did have this daily SMT. So I did take this trade short size. As I said, I made $434, I believe it was, on this trade. And another reason that I took this smaller size was we did not have a SMT. I don't think we had an SMT favoring longs. Let me get to our 10-10 candle. Yeah, this is our 10-10 candle. 10:05. What was it? By the time we hit the 950 macro, price was closer, almost closer to these London highs than what looked like these high resistance lows here. So, like I said, we came at open, we come down, we put in this low, we sweep at this 15-minute liquidity. This becomes a high resistance low, in my opinion. These lows here, although relatively equal, once this 950 macro hits, paired with the fact that we have these equal highs, I really liked NQ longs here. But as I said, we had no SMT. If anything, we had this daily SMT favoring ES short, and then we have this 5-minute SMT where NQ pushes up above these levels and ES stays down here, as we can see. NQ makes a higher high, ES makes a lower high. So ES very well could have ended up dumping short to come and take out this liquidity level down here. But I really like these intraday hourly highs. So if I drop down here, what we have a 5-minute break of structure and a 15-minute break of structure on this 9:45 close, or what looks like on this 9:35 close on NQ. And then what we do is we end up respecting this 5-minute gap. We never closed below this 5-minute gap. I mean, you can see how strong of a push we made short. So if we were going to go short on the day, we really needed to inverse this gap on the 5-minute. Compared to the fact that we sweep this liquidity and had such a strong reaction out of it at the 950 macro, this alone could have provided an entry. But let me drop down here to the NQ 1 minute. If we see here, on this push, on this retrace here, paired with the fact that we ended up respecting this gap on the 5-minute, on this push out, this reaction out to go long, I could have entered when this 1-minute gap inverse, this 1-minute fair value gap got inversed. Could have entered up here, or possibly waited for a retrace into the inversion gap and a push out of it, and entered somewhere in here and risked this low. I didn't really like that risk to reward, especially with how choppy PA was. Let me pull over here ES's 1 minute. This was another reason that I ended up taking lighter size on this. I mean, you can see from open to first 30 minutes into market open, we're chopping sideways on ES. NQ's a little nicer, but still more choppy. ES is just not great. So because volume's not one to push us strongly in a direction, even though I liked these hourly highs, and I would have liked a setup to set these hourly highs as my first take profit, I didn't like that based off of the volume that was in market and what the 1-minute price action was showing us. I really waited for a strong confirmation here. So like I said, I could have entered here once this 1-minute gap was inverse, because we already had the 5-minute break of structure, retrace, respect the 5-minute gap, sweep out this extra liquidity to get more orders to the upside. And then once we inverse this gap, could have entered here or wait for a retrace and entered. But and you can see that I do have an entry here, but I entered, this was an execution error on me. I entered long here, sold my position here because I entered without a take profit set, and I did not have my trade copier on. So that was error on me. But it kind of ended up working in my favor because we ended up retracing on the 5-minute into this 1-minute fair value gap again. And then once we inversed this gap here, I told myself, I said, I don't want to enter all the way up here, this high into premium. If we get a retrace into this inverse gap, the reaction out of it, that's what I'll enter. And what we did is we come down, touched it, poked up out of it. That's where I entered. And like I said, because of the volume and what price action was showing us, because that's what we have to do is react to what price action is showing us at the time, I set my first take profit. It was, I believe it was, yes, these double fair value gaps here. I know this is just an odd take profit as my first take profit, but it's under this 200 EMA cloud. At this 5-minute fair value gap, we very well could have come up, respect this fair value gap, and then retraced lower, because we did have a 5-minute SMT where ES was still hovering underneath these highs. So I set that as my take profit, and because it was a 1-to-1 risk to reward, that's usually where I set my first take profit. But since I took this only one contract light size, I was happy taking all the profits here because of the chop that price was showing us. And we can see that what we ended up doing was taking out this 5-minute level here, this 15-minute level, whatever it may be, and then chopping. And as I suspected, we never ended up taking out these equal hourly highs. So if I did not close this trade here, where I did, I would have been sitting in this and ended up closing out my trade somewhere, within this cloud here. Would have been closed out somewhere in here regardless. So, because after so much time, I don't like sitting in a trade for more than, wherever it may be. I don't like sitting into a trade deep in the afternoon, especially when I haven't taken a first take profit. Because if there's a strong conviction in the market, it's going to move towards that direction. And based off of the volume, like I said, and the chop that price was showing us, really from market open, it was more relevant or evident on ES, but still, we can still see it here on NQ. There was just not much volume to push this price to these equal hourly highs, which I really liked. But you can see that we still chopped later into market close. But like I said, that's why I took this trade light size. We'd had no SMT favoring us to go long. It was more so instinctive reaction. It's kind of hard for me to explain. We broke the 15-minute structure, 5-minute structure, had a retrace. These appeared to be high. What's the word I'm looking for? High resistance lows. And I took this for a quick win here. Light size. So hopefully coming into tomorrow, Monday, we have an opportunity to target these equal hourly highs. That would be very nice if into market open somehow during not ES, but London Asia session, we have a sweep that comes down, takes out these hourly levels during Asia or London session, and then we end up coming up putting in a relatively equal high on Asia London session, retrace again, and then something during open that comes up lets us target London high, Asia high, or whatever it may be, and then these two equal highs, and then push through this gap. That would be ideal. I would really like that setup. But this was Friday's trade recap, and thank you.